All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Now Morning Show right here on TTT on this tremendously terrific Tuesday. And I am now flanked by two guests here, and we're going to speak about the future of the internet, as I mentioned earlier. So with me this morning is George Gobin, the director. He's a director of TTMAG, and that is the Trinidad and Tobago Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Committee. And with me as well is Anita Sohan, who is the director of the same. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So the question is, what is the future of the internet? Now, this is a conference or an event that has been held for a few years well, and you're getting into the nitty-gritty of it. What can we expect this year?
Good. So the TTMAG, our premier event every year, is the one that does what we call it IGF, or Internet Governance Forum. And it's really designed to get feedback from the public, from private sector, from civil society, about what do you want to see, what do you want to do, how do you want to be affected by the internet. As you know, the internet, the world's population is about 7.6 billion people.
Right.
Only 1/3 of those have internet access. We grow more and more into getting them internet access. Huge problems are going to exist in terms of security,
right.
Governance. What do you really use it for? We've all heard about cyber attacking. We've heard about Cambridge Analytica, privacy of your data. So this conference that we are having out at Naprima College, and Anita will talk some more about that, is really to talk about the future of the internet and what you as an individual can do about it. So the name of the conference is the Internet and You.
The Internet and You.
The future of the internet.
Now, the internet was something that came out of the United States. Just how much control do we have here of the access and the content on the internet that we're exposed to in Trinidad and Tobago?
We have limited controls on that because the internet is pervasive everywhere you go. At one time, the larger countries tried to control the internet. We've taken care of most of that by now.
Right.
And the internet is run by a number of servers globally that no single entity has control on them. Different countries have tried, of course.
Right.
But it's been an issue that has been the source of attention of bodies like ICANN, ISOC, and groups like ours, the TTMAG, which really is the multi-stakeholder advisory group that advises on policy for governments, private sectors, and all that stuff.
Excellent. And you mentioned earlier about governance, and I'll bring Anita into the conversation. When it comes to governance, what are some of the things that are in place now and that we benefit from here in Trinidad and Tobago as pertains to the internet?
There are quite a few things that are in place, but what we really try to do as the TTMAG, I'll speak from the TTMAG perspective, is to just advise on policy to see how we could bring in as many stakeholders as possible, because really we need to have not just governments involved, but the private sector. You have academia, you have civil society, and to look at what's in place now, to look at what's taking place globally, and to bring that into the local context and to see how we could benefit from it and to be as inclusive as possible and to harness the benefits and the power of the internet.
Right, and hence the reason we have these events. So tell me about it.
So as George mentioned, we're actually in South for the first time, which is exciting.
Right.
It's taking place this Friday at Naprima College Auditorium from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This year we're focusing on 2 topics, and then we have a youth session. So the first topic is looking at fake news and its impact on you. It's such a hot topic right now. We always hear in the media, fake news this, fake news that. So really looking at what is fake news, how does it affect Trinidad and Tobago, what's in place to counter fake news but still respect the rights of journalists. The second panel is on data hosting. We're looking at whether we should host it locally or internationally. What are the pros and cons? What's the cost involved? What are the security concerns? Then for the first time, we're really going to have a youth session. And we're inviting a lot of schools to come in, and the youths are going to work with the adults. They're going to pick a team specific to the internet, come up with solutions, resolutions, and then present it to everyone. So that's really exciting for us.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And you just mentioned it's the first time you're going to have a youth session. So, of course, the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. And, everything is getting more and more digital. And the youth seem to be so savvy with it. So what benefit do you see out of, including the youth at this point?
Well, one of the things that that really comes to the forefront, for example, is this thing around privacy. As you just mentioned, youth very digitally minded, but their ideas of privacy are totally different from the generations before. And one of the things that we want to talk about is privacy. Should you be concerned? Should you be sharing the amount of information that you did today on the internet?
Right.
Is it going to come back and bite you at some day?
Right.
And if you look at companies, for example, the Facebook, the Instagram, and all those kinds of social media type companies, you give a lot of information to them for free,
Right.
which they in turn market and sell, and that's how
And
they make their money. They turn it to monetize, exactly. So it's not that we want to stop that. We want to make sure that you are totally aware as a population, the youth population, the adult population, about the things that you share and the things that you want to keep confidential. Maybe in 50 years, nobody will care.
Right.
But at this point in time, we have to encourage our youth to be careful about what it is they say, do, share on the internet. As you realize recently, the whole GDPR law was passed in Europe, which says that you have to be very, very secure in privacy of information, and you can't share data to a company, to an individual, unless you have very specific information from that individual.
Right.
Those are some of the things that we talk about in internet governance, and how is it going to affect the Caribbean. Everyone thinks that, oh, that's another country, that's never going to affect us. It's going to affect us here.
And it already does.
It does, because we have companies here who do business in Europe.
That's right.
We can't share the data.
And the US and many other countries as well. So hence this being so important. So let's get the event details, when, where, how to gain access.
Okay, so this Friday, January 31st, 9 a.m., 5 p.m., Naparima College Auditorium. You could visit our website, it's igf.tt, and register. It's free registration. You could either attend in person.
At all?
No.
Free, breakfast and lunch included.
Yeah.
All right, well, you know.
Can't want a better deal than that. Right?
Exactly. Food and education. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us this morning. George Gobin and Anita Sohan, both directors of TTMAG, the Trinidad and Tobago Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Committee. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Carrie.
We now take a short break and come right back with the rest of the Now Morning Show. Stay with us.